Okay, welcome back. It's tutorial 2 of our coaster project, and in this tutorial we're going to put some inserts inside for our pockets on this, and we're going to divide this into 3 individual coasters. Now, I just noticed one thing as I was all excited drawing away and teaching you how to, fusion draw, that I forgot a step, as I often do, and you will too, believe it or not. I was drawing away, and there's something that I forgot to mention. Up here on the top level, there's this little button, and when you come to the end of it, it says Activate Component. Now, component is interesting. Watch. I'm going to right-click on this coaster tutorial. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to push New Component. And then I'm going to give this component a name. You can name it later, but I'm going to name it now. I'm going to call this Coaster Blank, and I'm going to push OK. So this coaster blank is a component. Our coaster has basically 2 components to it. It has the blank and it has the insert. And it's important in Fusion, if you have more than one piece or component, that we set that up right from the outset. So I should have set up a component, and then what I would do is I would activate that component, and then I would start drawing. And then all of the things I'm drawing and creating would be associated with that component. And when you draw, I don't know if you've noticed, but we made sketches, and when we extruded into 3D, they became bodies. So if I go up to the top level and activate that, there's something down here known as the timeline. It shows you every step that you've made along the way. So the first thing we did was we drew a sketch. That sketch is invisible right now because you can make things visible and invisible by clicking the eyeball. And now you can see the sketch right there. And then the next thing that happens is we extruded a body, which is it's right there. And this is the body we extruded. I can turn the body off and I can see the sketch. I can turn the sketch off. There's the sketch missing. Turn the sketch back on, the body back on. So we made a sketch, we made an extrusion for a body, and now I've made a component. Well, I would like these sketches and bodies that are associated with coaster blank component to be underneath coaster blank component, and they're currently not. And you can't just drag them and put them under there either. Well, usually you can't. Oh, it was smart. Okay, I dragged the, I don't know if you saw that, I'm going to hit Control Z and bring it back. So normally what would happen is if I tried to drag this sketch underneath coaster blank, it wouldn't let me because the component was created after the sketch. So what you can do is drag this component back in time and have it created in the timeline first, before the sketch. And then you take the sketch and drag it underneath coaster blank and let go. And look, underneath coaster blank, bodies, sketches, both to do with coaster. And what this allows me to do is switch off the little eyeball and turn that on. And that's going to be helpful later. And this sketch, I don't like looking at it, so we're just going to turn it off. Normally they're off by default. But anyway, that was a pretty cool move to fix it. Now, better move would be to, out of the outset, and here's our next one, new component, we're going to make an insert because we're going to need it later. Insert. Push OK. Then when I go to draw the insert, I'll activate insert and I'll draw it. And then all the sketches and bodies will remain with insert. Okay, so we're going back to coaster blank right now. So let's activate that, and we got to do some work on this. So we're going to create a sketch. This time, do not choose the origin. Don't. If you've done it already, Control Z. Now what you're going to choose is the coaster blank, the surface, the top surface, right? That's this one lining up. See, it says top. That's this look. So click on it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line. You can do that by going under Create, grabbing Line, or you can do what I'm about to do, which is push L on your keyboard. It's a shortcut or a hotkey. Now, hover over the edge. See how they get an X? That X tells me that I'm seeing the edge or I'm indexing it, and when I go to the middle, it gives me an indicator that I found the middle, and that's that triangle. Click it. And now I'm going to find the middle of this edge. Triangle, click it. Hit Escape to stop drawing lines. Now, this line divides this into 2 halves because it's a hard and fast line. You see there and there? Click on the line and push X on your keyboard. Now look, it's not divided in half. This is what we call a construction line. See it over here under my sketch palette? If your sketch palette's collapsed, just hit that arrow and bring it out. So this construction line is useful to me, but it's not part of my actual structure. It's just there for me to help build. So I'm going to put that there. So let's draw a rectangle. Create a rectangle, center point, and put it right here on this origin right there. Make sure it indexes the origin. It goes snap, boom. And then we'll go 4, tab 4, just like we did before. Haha, that's funny, right? Okay, so now we're going to draw another rectangle. And it's going to be a center rectangle somewhere up here. And it's going to be 4, tab 4, enter. And now we need one more rectangle down here. You guessed it. Oh, if you want to just repeat the last command, you hold your right mouse button and you stroke upwards, and that invokes the last command. There we go. And 4, tab 4, enter. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to space these so there's a 1/4 inch of space between them. So I'm going to do some dimensioning. You hit D on your keyboard and you go center to center, click out there, and now if it had a 1/4 inch between, you have to do a little thinking here. What's the distance I need? Well, the coaster would be 2 inches on the top part here, and then there'd be another 2 inches, and then the 1/4. So I should need 4.25, enter. And that brings that down. The reason this one moved and this one did not is this one was locked to the origin when we put it there. It had a constraint. So now let's put a dimension here and a dimension to there and pull out. And we'll make this 4.25, enter. There we go. We're going to be using a 1/4 inch cutter to cut this out. I'm still dimensioning. I know that because my mouse has those little, I don't know, measuring lines on it, so hit escape. We're going to be running a 1/4 inch cutter through here, so that's perfect. It'll just run through and cut that out, and both will be cut out with one pass. All right. Now, next step, we need to put some circles in this thing. So head up to this center diameter circle, or hit C on your keyboard like I just did. Pick the middle of this and pull out for 3 inches. 3, enter. Now we'll pick the middle of this one. C on the keyboard. Pull out 3 inches. Just type in 3. And C one more time from the center. Type a 3, enter. Okay, so there we go. We got these things all dialed up. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put these pockets in. So I'm going to click that, I'm going to hold shift, I'm going to click another, I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to click another. We're now going to push E on the keyboard, and we're going to extrude these downwards. But oh look, you can cut them all the way through when I pull down. See, it's cutting over here. This is my extrude menu. But I don't want to go all that far. I want to go the thickness of the plywood I'm going to insert, so it is -0.125, or 1/8 of an inch. Okay, well there they are. Now I'd like to cut out those squares that we made. So if I go down to my timeline down here, I can see the last thing, there was my extrusion for these pockets. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into this sketch and edit it. So you can double click the sketch, or you can right click and choose edit, and you're right back where you started. So now what you're going to do is hit E on your keyboard. Oh, sorry, cancel. That was the wrong way to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to go back in here and you're going to pick that, the outside there. And it picks it all. Now hit E on your keyboard and pull this all the way down. But you can do that and it would work, but it's poor CAD form to do that. It would be better if I, instead of going a certain distance, like 1 inch or 5/16, I'm actually going to pick to object and say cut to the other side of the piece. So now if I ever change the thickness of the piece later on, because you can do that, you can go back and edit that thickness. If I ever changed it, this cut would always go through to the other side. There we go. So now we've made our 3 individual pieces, and that's the end of this tutorial. In tutorial 3, we'll be making those inserts and then actually assembling the inserts into this. So see you in tutorial 3.